where were we in 2009? The 18-month projected deficit when I walked in was $13 billion. The unemployment rate was 9.8%. You had a corporate business surcharge. Ross remembers that one. An additional 4% on top of the already really high corporate business tax that we had. We had a top tax rate of 10.75%. The FY 2010 budget, the one we inherited, had 13.2% in one-shot revenues. When I hear about how bad the economy is right now and how, New Jersey has to have a fairer, stronger economy, like, man, I remember when things were really bad. And they were really bad when we walked in the door. Desperately bad. And so how do you remain consistent with the principles that we talked about and get this done? The first thing you do is you balance that 18-month budget deficit without raising taxes, because you already were one of the highest tax states in the country. And according to the Tax Foundation, the highest tax state in the country. What did we do with that 13.2% of non-recurring revenue of one-shots? In the last budget, it's down to 1.6%. You look at the unemployment insurance fund. Not only have we completely paid the federal government back, but we also advocated for and passed a constitutional amendment that says they can never raid the fund like that again, ever, because that's what Governor Corzine did. He stole the money from the unemployment insurance fund to pay for ongoing expenditures. And that can never happen again. And because of the fact that we paid it back as quickly as we did, we've given 2 tax cuts to businesses on unemployment insurance premiums that you pay that amounted to $400 million in business tax cuts for the employers in New Jersey, because we now have a surplus, a big surplus, that cannot be taken except by people who are unemployed and who need that to help support their families and continue to keep the lights on and pay their bills. Paul mentioned 11,000 fewer employees today than the day we walked in. But because of the property tax cap as well, it's much more than that. That's just at the state level. At the county and local level, there are 30,000 fewer employees today than the day we walked in. We did this without any layoffs at the state level, all through attrition and better management. Better managing. Every time we lost a position, we didn't just automatically reflexively fill it. And that's why we'll be able to do what we've done in terms of spending. I want you to remember this, and Steve Oraho knows this budget as well as anybody in the room. Today, we spend $2 billion less in discretionary spending, in actual dollars, real dollars. $2 billion less than we spent 8 years ago. Now think about that. That means the only increase in expenditures we've had in the last 8 years has been on pensions, health benefits, and debt service. Everything else is down $2 billion, which is why the campaign also made me laugh when I heard both former governors and current candidates saying they were going to find $1 billion in waste in the budget to get rid of. I was like, yeah, have at it, man. It's all done. We did it. We did it because desperate times call for desperate measures. Then you got to have conservative tax policies. That's what the cap is, and the arbitration cap. And let me warn all of you, the arbitration cap goes away on December 31st. We capped that increase at 2%. You know what that's done in the last 7 years? It has saved municipalities and counties over $540 million in increased salary. And that's a multiplier, of course, you know, because as the salary increases, the pension costs increase on the back end as well. And the property tax cap itself has saved $2.9 billion in property taxes that would have otherwise gone up if kept at the old rate. That's what allows you to do things like a $3 billion tax cut for business through all the things that Paul talked about. Single sales factor, all the other things that he mentioned have amounted now to $3 billion in tax reductions for the businesses in this state since we walked in January of 2010. And he mentioned the gas tax. And it's the only tax that I've signed to increase in the time that I've been governor. And I did it for 2 reasons. One, because we needed it to rebuild our roads and our bridges and our mass transit systems. And it had not been increased since Governor Kane was governor in 1988. For $1.2 billion gas tax increase, we got $1.4 billion in tax reductions in return. If I told you 8 years ago when I came into office that I would get a Democratic legislature to vote to eliminate the estate tax, you'd have told me I was crazy. But we did. If I told you I'd get in a Democratic legislature to reduce the sales tax, you would have told me I was crazy. But we did. If I would have told you I would have gotten them to get a $100,000 retirement income exemption for seniors and retirees so they could stay in New Jersey, the Democrats would actually vote for those kind of reductions. But we understood two things: effective tax policy and how to negotiate. And we did deal with the pension system. Did we fix every problem? No, we did not. I wish we could have. But $8.8 billion is the amount we've contributed to the pension system in the last 8 years. And that is 2.5 times the amount of money that was put into the pension system by the last 5 governors combined. Combined. So you wonder why the pension system is in such bad shape? We put in $8.8 billion, and that is 2.5 times the last 5 governors combined. And we passed pension and benefit reform that's got rid of cost of living adjustments so that we're saving $120 billion for the state and the county and the locals over the next 30 years. And the pension system is in better shape today than it was when we walked in. All those things didn't happen by accident, and they were not a miracle, nor was the doubling of charter school seats to give more choice to urban kids and their families, regardless of income, in this state to get a better education. Nor was criminal justice reform, which makes sure that we don't have debtor's prison anymore in New Jersey. And because you can't afford $500 to post bail on a petty crime, that you don't spend months and months and months in jail. But it also requires that if you're a violent criminal with a long rap sheet, that the judge can keep you in jail pending trial. Makes our state safer and fairer at the same time. And that's why our prison population is down more than any state in America, and why on our watch we've closed, not built, closed 2 state prisons on our watch. That's a fairer state. It's a more just state. And it's a safer state at the same time. So all this has gotten done. I want to end where I started and take your questions. All this has happened. All these conservative Republican principles have happened in the context of 2,920 days, by the time we're done, of a Democratic legislature.